Ever wondered what the difference is between charter schools and traditional public schools? Well, wonder no more. We will be delving into all of that in today's video. Let me say this before you guys go any further into the video. Forgive my rambling. I rambled a lot, but forgive me. Yeah. What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Malika, aka Mali, aka Malibu, whatever you want to call me. You don't know that it's me, and this is Malika's Flex. All right, welcome back to all of my flexers, all of my big flexers, and all of my super flexers. I'm happy that you are here with me today. Some of you have been asking me, what's the difference between charter schools and public schools? I want to make a decision, and I'm here to give it to you today because that's what I do. So the basics of it is that charter schools are privately managed while being publicly funded, whilst traditional public schools are fully funded by the government. Now, private schools, because they're privately managed, they also get funding by, their private entities or by, raising money privately to do their school business. All right. Now, with that being said, some people would still refer to as charter schools as public schools, but they have that private aspect to them. Now, private schools have their own set of goals, and that is what they use to govern or to run their school. Whereas public schools have to follow state standards. Now, when we say that public schools follow the state standards, they have to follow the district curriculum or the state curriculum in order to achieve the state goals. They have to usually do state tests, and of course, because of that, they have to follow the state curriculum. There's no flexibility where that is concerned. Whereas charter schools, because they're following their own set of goals and they are fully operating based on those, they don't necessarily have to be looking towards achieving a certain statewide goal, and so that gives them some flexibility with their curriculum. And that is why you'll have some charter schools that are more STEM related or more arts related, just focusing on different goals, and so they're more flexible and they can specialize in different areas if they want to. But with the public schools, because they're following a set curriculum, like I said before, there's no flexibility where that is concerned. And so if you want your child, for example, to increase his or her art or artistic abilities rather, maybe a charter school that specializes in that could definitely help your child. But maybe public schools that are more generalized and just gearing towards a specific statewide goal, maybe they will not be able to help your child as much as the charter school would be able to. Now, that is not to say that there aren't some government funded schools that do specialize in certain things. Like, I know that when I was in Georgia, there were some schools that were trying to become like STEM academies and so on and so forth, but that's just a few schools, and that's not general to all publicly funded schools. All right, so that's some of the differences between the charter school and the public school. Now, some people will say that charter schools have better behaving students, and I guess this can be argued because I believe that each school is different based on the administrators and what their policies are and just how well they know how to run a school. But I've heard it so many times that charter schools have better behaving students as opposed to some of the traditional public schools. And I guess this is also falling back or leaning back onto the fact that the charter schools have more autonomy, more flexibility. When it comes on to enrolling students, they can pick, choose, and refuse, whereas public schools, they really can't refuse anybody, So public schools will tend to get more of a mixture of kids, while charter schools might, set their own rules. Remember that they're geared towards a particular goal. So maybe they'll say, okay, we only want students who have a certain type of grades, or we only want students with this type of ability. Not to say that specifically, I'm just giving an example. All right, so don't take my word for it and say, oh, Malika's Flex said that. No, I'm just trying to give you an example just to show you why some charter schools might have better behaving students, because they deliberately pick students of a certain caliber, I guess. But also, like I said, each person could, argue this point, because I've watched videos of some individuals saying that, oh, when they started working at a charter school, it was actually more difficult. Some of the students were not very well behaved for whatever reason there was. But like I said, that's the experience of each person will have their own experience. I've also heard some individuals saying, just in my conversation with teachers from my previous schools, from a previous school, because I would always ask, teachers within my workplace, because I always wanted to understand it myself as well. What's the difference between a charter school and a public school? And sometimes they will also say that charter schools have smaller class sizes, and I know many teachers would like this, to have a smaller class size. And remember, this is also going back to the fact that the charter school can decide how many kids they want to enroll, what type of kids, what are the requirements for these students, as opposed to public schools, once again, who basically have to take everybody. So, and then again, because I even have a friend right now who is at a charter school, and she's saying that she has like 30 kids in a class, which is a lot. Okay. So once again, it will all depend on what charter school you actually land in. I've also heard that charter schools, sometimes you end up doing more work, because these are usually smaller schools, and so we need all hands on deck to do everything. You definitely are expected to participate in like extracurricular activities, just different things to ensure that everything runs smoothly, everything goes according to plan. And right, you might just end up with having more work. Now, as it relates to having the resources for teaching, once again, there's a mixture of responses. Some people argue that public schools have better funding or better resources just because they're being funded by the government, and they don't have to rely on whatever it is that they're getting from parents or students. And so maybe you'll find that in a school that is fully funded by the government, a public school, a traditional public school, that they'll have simple things such as maybe pencils, adequate chairs in some government schools, whereas maybe in a charter school you'll find that simple things that you'd expect them to just have, you might be providing for yourself as a teacher. Now, don't get me wrong, in public schools, traditional public schools, teachers also have to provide certain resources for themselves. But I found that when I was in the traditional public school system, some of the things that I provided for myself were just things that I wanted personally, like decorating my class. Like, I want my class to have a certain look. While I could use some of the free resources at school, I chose to order some stuff from Amazon, or went to Hobby Lobby, or went to the dollar store, or wherever I could, just to get my class looking how I wanted it to look. But with other resources, it wasn't an issue. So it all depends on you and what you like and what your vision is for your own classroom. Now, another thing with the charter schools, remember that I said that they have flexibility. Now, because of that flexibility, students can come from, a certain distance. If you know anything about teaching in the United States, usually with the traditional public schools, students have to be living within a certain area, a certain geographical location from their school in order to be enrolled in certain schools. So you can't be living an hour away from school. They want you to live as close as possible. And so with charter schools, students can still enroll in those schools because of that flexibility. Now, as it relates to hiring, I know that many of you are tuning into this video for the hiring part of it. I believe you would have seen, if you have been following my channel for a while, I have presented on a few charter schools before, and you would have heard me mention that, oh, you don't need to be certified in order to teach at these schools. Whereas the traditional public schools, you do need to be certified. It's not to say that you need to be certified before applying, but at some point in time, before you go through the full visa process, you'd have to start that certification process. Whereas with a charter school, when it comes down to hiring, you'd have noticed that I would have said, oh, you don't need to be certified. You can probably wait 2-3 years. And that's because of that flexibility that the charter schools have when it comes on to hiring. So some charter schools will tell you, oh, it's okay, we can hire you, but just as our personal goals, we would love for you to be certified within another 2-3 years, and that would give you some time to sort out your salvation, right? So that is one other thing with the charter school versus the public schools. Now, as it relates to which one you should choose to work in, that is not a decision that I can make. You can just consider whatever information I have given you today, and use that as your guide to decide on whether or not you would actually want to work in a charter school as opposed to a public school. When it comes on to salary, usually teachers get a similar salary, like based on, the neighborhood, or the state and everything combining. I mean, usually that teachers are paid based on their years of experience and also based on their qualifications. It's no different in these charter schools, and just like any other school district, charter schools, they have their own salary scale. So it's not to say, oh, make a decision because, oh, charter school teachers are paid more than traditional public school teachers. It can go either way. Maybe you'll find a charter school that pays more than a traditional public school. Maybe you'll find a traditional public school that pays more than a charter school. So it's not one of those things where you're going to go into it looking at it rather, like that. Okay, so comment down below. You guys know I like when you comment something in the comment section at the end of my videos, and we have reached the end of this video. I want you to comment down below #charter schools if you think you would prefer to teach in a charter school, or #public schools if you think you would prefer to teach in a public school, and #both if you have no preference and you would teach in either one. All right, thank you guys for listening in. Once again, I do not take it for granted whenever you choose to sit down and listen to my entire videos. Thank you all once more. It's your girl Malika, aka Mali, aka Malibu, saying bye.